Hello, welcome back to another episode of Poop and Helmets. This is about our 12th episode, and today we're going to be mainly talking about college basketball. We're going to also give you guys a quick little preview for the national championship. We're going to start it off, I think we're going to start it off with college football today, and then move into basketball later in the show. So, Brody, I just have a quick question for you. If you had to pick any 2 weeks in the entire year, what is your favorite time of the year for sports, like watching sports or playing
You
sports?
gotta go first 2 weekends of March Madness.
Yeah, honestly, I would say the same
Or
thing.
maybe conference championship.
Yeah, that's what I was
first
gonna
round
say.
of March Madness.
That's what I was gonna say. It starts getting warm outside. Spring break's coming up. You got March Madness, conference championships. You start playing like golf. I'm a big golfer, so it's fun that time of the year. It's definitely my favorite. I'm looking forward to it. But we still got football season. Obviously, we have NFL games this weekend, but we do college, and we have a big game, the national championship, Notre Dame versus Ohio State. How about you start off with your thoughts?
Yeah, right. First off, I just want to say this is way too late for football season. We should not be playing a game January. This is college basketball season.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly forget about this game. I'm gonna watch it, but it's not like I care so much about it.
I forgot about
Even if Notre Dame wins, brag to me all you want. I'm in college basketball season. To all those Notre Dame fans out there. But I feel like Ohio State, they're just too dominant. Notre Dame, they've gotten it done in the playoffs. So I was definitely wrong at them as we headed into the playoffs, but they really haven't impressed me on the offensive end yet. I mean, they've gotten their defense, they've looked sharp. I like what they do when they pressure the quarterback. But then again, if your offense, let's say Riley Leonard, this Notre Dame offense, has to drive down the field. They're down 7. They need a touchdown with 4 minutes to go. Do you really think they can do that?
It's going to be very interesting to see. I don't think they can, but they are a clutch team, and they've won a lot of close games. And Riley Leonard, he's been in these situations before, and I know Will Howard has been as well. He won a Big 12 championship with Kansas State last year, and people forget about that. So he's been in the spotlight before. Obviously, he just took down Texas, destroyed Oregon, destroyed Tennessee. So they're coming in this game hot and firing at all cylinders. And I think the team that had a better chance to beat Ohio State was Texas and not Notre Dame. I'm still not sleeping on this Notre Dame team, though. I think they could still make it close, and they have better coaching than Ohio State does. That's not even up for question anymore. It's just whether if they can get the run game going, because that's their strength. If they can't, they're going to be in obvious passing situations, which has been a big theme of the playoffs for many of these football teams, and that just doesn't work against Ohio State. But if they can get Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price going, it could be a close game.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of blows. But you talk about the coaching, and I actually don't understand the hate with Ryan Day. I think Jim Harbaugh got into his mind a bit, at Michigan, and he just hasn't been able to beat them. But you look at what he's done with the program, and he hasn't made the national championship. Well, that's because it's a 14 playoff. You lose to Michigan, you can't make it.
Exactly.
Now he gets a chance, and the team is really peaking at the right moment.
Hey, he's been really good. People always say, we have to fire him, get him out of here. And they're always overreacting after that Michigan loss, which, sure, they're the rival, the most important game of the year. Of course, you should overreact. Losing 4 times in a row, that's crazy, especially after winning so many years in a row. But outside of that, he's only had one other loss. Or, no, because he lost to Oregon this year. So 2 other losses in his program, and he's taken them to the playoffs pretty much every year, except for a couple of those Michigan losses. But they've won big-time games, and they've proven it time and time again. But they still haven't won that national championship, and they got all the talent, and they got a matchup where they should win. Who knows what's going to happen, but this is their time. And if Ryan Day wins this game, there's no doubt whether he'll be the coach next season. I don't care that they lost to Michigan again. They won the national championship. If they do, he's got to be the coach next year.
And let's start with the Ohio State offense. Jeremiah Smith, last game, the box score checkers will say that he didn't have a great game because he only had one catch, I think, for 6 yards. But this Texas cornerback room, Jahdae Barron, that guy, he's the best cornerback in the country. It's not even close. He's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. And these Notre Dame corners, I really haven't seen enough of them to show me that they can really lock down a star receiver. Jeremiah Smith has looked very good in the playoffs. People are saying if he was able to be drafted right now, he'd be the top guy taken out of all the receivers.
Yeah, that's very possible. I mean, he's a beast. He's insane. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Notre Dame can stop their passing attack and their running attack. The running attack is so slept on because you have Jeremiah Smith, Cornell Tate, and Emeka Egbuka. People forget Quinshon Judkins. Travion Henderson in the backfield, that's unstoppable. Like, you can't. Their offense has all the weapons, and their defense too. They got Tuamalioga or whatever, number 44, rushing off the edge. Jack Sawyer, the captain, obviously the strip sack fumble last week, and Caleb Downs, like the best safety in all of college football. It's just they have all the pieces they need. It's their game to lose. Like if Notre Dame wins, it's not because they won. Most likely, it's because Ohio State lost. Like there's no way. It's just going to be very hard to see Notre Dame winning this game.
And you talk about Caleb Downs. I actually saw this. ESPN ranked the top 50 players in the college football playoff. Caleb Downs ranked 20th.
Wow.
Xavier Watts was like 8th. I don't know how you can do that.
That's crazy. Like, I've watched a bunch of these Ohio State games, and I've seen he's all over the place. He's impacting every play. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and you look at that pitch that Texas got stuffed on.
Yeah.
And Downs he saw that the whole way. He got into the backfield. So let's make our picks for this game. Notre Dame, Ohio State. Who are you taking?
So, like I've kind of been telling you guys pretty much the whole show, I'll be taking Ohio State, and I'm not going to do any crazy pick because I don't think this is really nothing to go crazy about. Obviously, like Bert said, I'm kind of in basketball season now, so I haven't been thinking about it too much. But with me not thinking about it, like, makes me not thinking about the ways that Notre Dame could win this game. So I haven't really thought of many, and I just don't really see many possible outcomes. There's definitely outcomes out there. That's why Ohio State's still only favored by 8 points. It's not going to be like Georgia, TCU, but I just don't see them stopping Ohio State enough. And if they can't run the ball, they're going to get a deficit early, and it will be very tough to overcome.
Yeah, we always talk about this on the podcast. Teams that haven't faced adversity getting behind.
Yeah.
So if this Notre Dame team gets behind, I don't see how they're going to be able to get out of that hole. This Ohio State team, I think, is just going to put them away early. I think you're going to see a big game from Emeka Egbuka in this one. The veteran at Ohio State. They're going to run the ball all over this Notre Dame team. I'm going to take Ohio State 31-17 in this one, a 14-point win in the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, in the first round, the running backs had a big game. Second round, Jeremiah Smith had a big game. Against Texas, Cornell Tate had a big game. It feels like Egbuka's time to shine in this one, so I agree.
Yeah, so let's transition over to college basketball, and that's kind of what the realm we're in right now. And let's start off with the ACC game, Clemson at Pitt.
Okay, so obviously I'm a Clemson fan, and this is a huge game for us, playing at Pittsburgh, a team who hasn't been too great recently. They dropped one to Louisville last Saturday, which is actually an extremely hot, great team right now. They're looking to be a top 5 seed. They're a great basketball team. But then I know he's on the road, but Florida State, you just can't lose that game if you're trying to make the tournament. They obviously have Jameer Watkins. They're not a terrible team, but the odds are they're not making the tournament, and that's still a bad loss for this Pitt team. And now they're back to like on that bubble fringe. Same with Clemson's still there as well. Clemson's probably like an 8, Pitt's like a 9 right now, so it's a big time matchup. Clemson's traveling to Pitt. Can Pitt stop the 2-game skid? I think there's a good chance they do, but I can't really pick against my Tigers, and it's just going to be a very close game. So if I wasn't a Clemson fan, I still wouldn't know who to pick, but I really feel like Ian Shefflin's going to have a big game. He's kind of been like down for a little while now with the breakout games incoming for him, and they're going to try to stop Chase Hunter. Even if they do, we have other guys who can step up. Jaden Zachary's been doing it a lot recently, same with Chauncey Wiggins. And if we can get Shefflin and Lockton going, I don't really see why we can't win this game.
Not so fast, sir. Pitt, they're not dropping 3 in a row. That would probably wipe them out of the tournament picture for now.
Yeah.
Jalen Lowe. Oh. That's how you pronounce it, right?
Yeah, Jalen Lowe.
Jalen Lowe. I've been watching ACC basketball, as you can tell. He's a beast of a guard. 17 points per game this year. He's been tearing up the court against these ACC rivals. And Clemson, I haven't been impressed with their defense from the guards. Now, their offense from Chase Hunter and Zachary, I've been impressed with that. But on the defensive end, and then you also add an Ishmael Leggett, I think Pitt's going to win this one, but I think it's going to be a close one. Pitt probably by around 5.
It should be a really close game. I could see it going how, like, we have this interesting scenario in the ACC. Duke's the top dog, and we have all these teams kind of like safely in the tournament, but not safely at the same time. North Carolina, Louisville, Clemson, Pitt. So they're all decent teams that one of them, the odds are they're going to make a run in March Madness because of how good the ACC has been recently. But who knows which one it is? Right now, it looks like Louisville. There's a good chance North Carolina does it with the talent they have. Clemson did it last year. Pitt did it a couple years ago. Wake Forest has won a lot of games in a row. Same with SMU's been pretty good recently. They're just outside right now, so you never know what can happen with this conference. And these games, when you're playing teams that are your similar skill level and you're fighting for spots in the tournament, these are the big ones. So it's going to be a huge game Saturday morning.
Yeah, because on Selection Sunday, when the committee's looking at these two teams,
yeah,
they're going to look straight to this game. That's the first thing they're looking at.
Yeah.
But let's talk about UConn as they host Creighton in a Big East battle.
So UConn is 7-point favorites in this game, and I'm a bit surprised they're not favored by more since they're at home and Creighton lost one of their best players, Pop Isaacs, out for the season. But when you look at this Creighton team, they've actually been pretty good recently without Pop Isaacs. Other players on the team like Mason, Miller, and Neal have stepped up. Colt, Renner, and Ashworth have been great like they were supposed to be. So they're still a pretty good team in this Big East Conference. And UConn's been a bit shaky recently. I'm not going to pick Creighton because I think UConn at home, Danny Hurley as their coach, they have Sandiar. They got experience, but they also got young talent, Solo Ball, Liam McNeely, Samson Johnson. I don't see them losing this game, but don't sleep on Creighton. They're on the bubble right now, but I think this will be a tournament team. They're actually pretty good, and I didn't think they were going to be after they lose Pop Isaacs.
Yeah, I really haven't been impressed about this UConn team. People said it's going to be a three-peat year. They really haven't done much if you look at all of their games. I mean, the Villanova loss, Caravan, your veteran. You got to be able to make the free throws.
That was sad.
The Big East, in my opinion, is pretty wide open. I can see teams jumping up the ladder, making the tournament. But this is a game where UConn has to take care of business at home. They just struggled with Providence. Providence is not a good Big East team. But I like UConn in a blowout here. I think Hurley takes control. This UConn team settles down, and they're going to win this game.
Yeah, the Big East is weird because it's kind of like who's hot in what games and at the right time because you don't really got any dominant teams. Obviously, UConn, Marquette, and St. John's are the three top dogs, and they're all great basketball teams. They're all going to make it the tournament. That's pretty obvious at this point. But then you have the second-tier teams like Villanova has actually been pretty decent recently. Then you have Xavier, who obviously has the potential. Some people even had them in their Final Four sleepers earlier this year. Then you have Georgetown. They've been a pleasant surprise, pretty good. And then you got the mid teams like Providence and Butler, and who knows if one of these teams gets hot, they could very well make a run in the Big East tournament because it's not that strong of a conference this year.
Yeah, so let's move it over to the SEC now, and we'll start off with the noon game, Bama at Kentucky.
This is going to be one of your classic Kentucky, Bama, Oregon, Texas A&M mix of teams where the final score is going to be 100 to 102. Just the question is who's going to come out on top this time. And this game reminds me so much of when Kentucky played Florida at 12 or 11 o'clock a couple weeks ago. It's just going to be these teams both play so fast on offense. So if you like a fast game, this is the best game to watch. It's a top 10 matchup. Great guard play on both sides, along with great big men and great big men passing from Grant Nelson and Amari Williams on both teams. And if I had to give my pick, I'd probably pick Alabama, but just because they're coming off a loss. And I think Nate Oates is going to have them ready, and I don't think they're going to lose two in a row. Kentucky's been playing pretty good recently, but I think that's going to come to an end tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Nate Oates said he felt embarrassing after that last loss to Ole Miss on their home floor. But they're really getting it going right now. Amari Williams talk about it. He's getting it going. Kobe Bray has been cold in their last few games. If he knocks down 4 or 5 threes early, he could have a huge game. I'm talking like 8 3-pointers. Lamont Butler, boy, his defensive presence, and he does not turn the ball over. No. Talk about a veteran guard you need when you're coming down the stretch. I'm just going to take Kentucky at this one at Rupp Arena. I think it's going to be like 92-88. We're going to see a lot of points in this one.
Yeah.
So let's move it over to Auburn as they head to Georgia.
So Auburn, Georgia, the SEC is so good and so deep this year that you're going to have games like this at literally every time slot on your Saturdays in the upcoming weeks. This week's a bit lighter because you still got the NFL and college football going on. But Auburn, without Janai Broom, still dominated Mississippi State this week. And Mississippi State's a pretty good basketball team. Georgia, though, they've been scorching hot. Obviously, they picked up a win versus St. John's earlier this year down in the Bahamas. And I realized, they're actually pretty good because I'm a St. John's fan. I think we're a pretty good team this year. So I'm like, this Georgia team's legit. Aston Newell, obviously, he's a great player. And they've pulled off some upsets. They took down Kentucky a couple weeks ago, and Brody was just talking about how Kentucky's been playing great recently. They're in the top 25 in the SEC, and they're at home versus Auburn. So who knows which way it's going to go. I'm going to pick Auburn because I trust their depth and experience. And then they obviously have Tahad. He's a freshman, but he's been balling out recently. And they got Chad Baker-Mazara. They just have too many pieces to lose, I think.
I'm worried for this one as an Auburn fan, but then again, this team's impressed me so much. I thought I couldn't be impressed more. You look at Tahadi, the step through three. Kelly's making threes from logo. I mean, we were toying with Mississippi State. Alley-oops from half court. We put the walk-ons in with a minute left. Mississippi State's a top 15 team in the country. I don't think we're going to be toying with Georgia, but of course I'm going to roll with the Tigers. I think it's going to be close, though, under 10 points. Let's try to keep it away from that.
Yeah.
So the final game we're going to preview is Purdue as they travel to Oregon in another top 25 matchup.
Yeah, so surprisingly, this is like one of your best later games of the day, and it's at 3:00. So that just shows you how many top bottom heavy earlier games there are. And Purdue, Oregon, this can be fun. I'm kind of excited for the Big Ten. Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, Oregon, Illinois, they're all in that 10 to 20 range bunch. It's going to be fun to see some of these games. And on Sunday, it's Illinois versus Michigan State. I don't think we're going to touch on that one today, but that's another huge Big Ten matchup. And this one, you have Trey Kaufman-Renn stepping in the shoes of Zach Edey. He's been playing really well. And Braden Smith, obviously a great guard. And Fletcher Lawyer's been shooting the ball pretty well. So Purdue's actually pretty hot right now. But Oregon, man, have people slept on them over the offseason. They kind of came out of nowhere in the Players Era tournament, winning that. And they haven't really looked back. Jackson Stelshad has hit some really clutch shots in the past couple of weeks. And Nate Biddle and TJ Bamba, the transfer from Villanova, they've been playing great. And it's at Oregon, so it's tough to pick against them, but I will. I think Purdue's experience and Braden Smith's going to have a great game, and I think they're going to take down Oregon.
Yeah, people don't know that Purdue actually has the 7-2 freshman, Daniel Jacobson, that he's out for the year with a leg injury. Yeah. He got injured in November, but he was big for them. He was averaging double-double. Ever since that Auburn loss, Purdue's really bounced back. They humbled Nebraska. Nebraska's a tournament team. They beat them by 40 midweek. Now they're going to Oregon. It's 12:00 game there. It's an early wake-up for these kids from Eugene. So for that reason, I'm going to take Purdue, just like Lucas. And that's going to do it for our episode. For Brody Jacobson and Lucas DeVries, we're signing out.